Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Heat Wave. 32 teams in 32 days. And today we are breaking down the Texans. Every single fantasy player that you could possibly need on the Texans is going to be breakdown down today. I'm your host, the Fantasy Plug, Tim Petropoulos, editor in chief of BrotoFantasy.com and the Fantasy Football by Broto app. I am joined by the king of this fantasy thing and lead fantasy analyst for Broto, Michael, and Matt Ward, the Dynasty Don and the Fantasy Encyclopedia himself, lead writer at Broto. What's up, boys?
What's up, Tim?
Getting better day by day. Speaking of the app, download the Fantasy Football by Broto app today for free and get every single tool you need to dominate fantasy football and become your own expert. Every stat you hear us use today can be found on the Fantasy Football by Broto app. That includes fantasy player cards, fantasy player grades, usage charts, start sit tools, who to draft tools, player comps, podcast consistency charts, game logs, coaching tendencies, articles, rankings, waivers, and every stat you need, including advanced stats and including exclusive stats you can't find anywhere else. True throw value, true target value, true performance value, adjusted air yards, and true matchup rankings. This app right now is free. It won't be free forever, but it's free right now because of our patrons over at patreon.com/BrotoFantasy. A big thank you to our patrons. You are the reason why the Broto machine keeps pumping. Join now to support the show, the app, and to join the best community in the world. For as little as $3 a month, you get an extra show every week, access to BroTo Leagues. Does your league suck? This one will not. Proven DFS cash game optimizers, access to cheat sheets, private team consultations, the most unique fantasy leagues with the community in the world, and the community itself, the Discord, where we connect. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the app, please consider supporting. It goes a long way. Today, we're jumping into the Texans, their offensive outlook. Their new head coach is Lovie Smith. Now, Lovie Smith is not new to the head coaching ranks. 11 years of history as a head coach. He was the Bears head coach from 04 to 2012, and then Tampa Bay in 14 and 15. Overall, he has an 89 and 87 record. But he has good success. Turned the Bears around, reached Super Bowl, the Super Bowl in 2006, lost to the Peyton Manning-led Colts, won Coach of the Year, won 3 division titles despite no real quarterback to speak of in his entire time there. His team went 10-6. He was fired because they started 7-1. Kind of did the inverse Brian Flores, and he was fired. Tampa Bay was not good when he took over. 8-24 in his tenure. He coached quarterbacks Josh McCown, Mike Glennon, and a rookie Jameis Winston. So that gives you an idea of what those teams were looking like. He's here to build. He's here to be a mentor. He's defensive minded. He was a linebacker and a defensive coordinator for the Rams before he became a head coach. So really the best thing about him is he got an excellent beard. His beard is goated. He is the number one beard in the league, 100%. It's perfect, and it's like salt and pepper. It's amazing. His offensive coordinator is Pep Hamilton, another veteran. He's been an OC or QB coach for 25 years. He was the offensive coordinator for the Colts, and then he was the offensive coordinator for Stanford and the Browns and Michigan as the pass game coordinator. Like, he's been everywhere. He's been doing it all. QB coach for the Texans last year. In 2020, he was the head coach of the DC Defenders in the XFL as well.
That's so random.
So last season, Lovey was the defensive coordinator and Pep Hamilton was the QB coach. So although it's a new staff, and I tell you those numbers don't matter, this is an internal hire. So the numbers do matter, unfortunately, for the Texans. 30th in the NFL in scoring offense last year. Passed the ball 57% of the time. That was about middle of the pack. Their big ads this year: running back Dare Agumbawale and running back Marlon Mack. The rookies: offensive guard Kenyon Green, wide receiver John Mitchie III, and Damian Pierce, who was drafted in the 4th round, who we'll talk about in a little bit. And their losses: running back David Johnson, wide receiver Danny Amendola, and of course, QB Deshaun Watson officially, QB Tyrod Taylor, and the tight end Jordan Atkins. So, look, we don't have to spend too much time with this team. It's basically, to sum them up, it's going to be Brandon Cooks and no one else. Maybe you'll get a couple good running back games sometimes. And this team is in transition. This team is looking, they have a better shot at getting the number 1 pick overall than they do, finishing with 5 wins, in my opinion. So I think that, this is a team that we don't have to talk about too much, but let's get into it. Davis Mills flashed some potential last year. Can he sustain fantasy success ever? Probably not. So I don't know whose job it was to do quarterbacks, but are you itching? Can we just skip Davis Mills and to go on to the next guys? You're not starting
Yeah,
Davis
I
Mills in
mean,
your fantasy team.
you're probably not drafting him in one QB leagues, even in super flex leagues. You're probably not drafting him as anything more than a low end QB2, and that's pretty much it. He had better than expected rookie season, but he doesn't even have much job security as a 3rd-round pick. So
No, yeah. And then let's get to the running backs. Marlon Mack versus Rex Burkhead versus Damian Pierce versus Royce Freeman. This is how I see it coming.
Royce Freeman? Is Royce Freeman on the roster?
Still on the squad.
Yep,
I checked today. Marlon Mack is going to start the season. Damian Pierce is going to end the season. A little bit of Rex sprinkled in.
Is this your guess?
Some goal line and some Royce sprinkled in, but not too much. I think that's how the thing how it's going to play out in the backfield. I wouldn't be overly willing to get any of these guys, but you know what? I have Marlon Mack on a dynasty roster right now, and I'm preparing to possibly start him in a flex spot for the first couple weeks. But they're starting like their opening schedule is just brutal. So I don't expect him to get too much work and too much. I don't know. What do you guys feel about this running game?
Look, right now their ADPs on Fantasy Pros: Damian Pierce RB45, Marlon Mack RB53, Rex Burkhead RB66. I don't care about Royce Freeman or Dari Ogunbowale. I don't really care about Damian Pierce, Marlon Mack, or Rex Burkhead. Whoever you decide to target, you shouldn't really be targeting. At this point, it's Marlon Mack, the oft-injured journeyman who hasn't been anywhere near fantasy relevant since 2019. Rex Burkhead, who is a 32-year-old journeyman whose specialty is just randomly producing out of nowhere, getting people hyped up, and then not producing anymore. And then you have Damian Pierce, who was a 4th-round pick out of Florida, who never had more than 600 rushing yards in a season throughout his collegiate career, and 19 receptions was his season high in his senior season. His first BRoto comp was Josh Jacobs, which was a little bit of a shock to me. It's a nice comp, but after that, it was 4 comps that were nobodies, and they were all pretty relatively low confidence. And this Texans team, it's a bad offense. The running back room has been a mess for years. The only one I'd kind of consider is Damian Pierce at RB45, just in case he separates himself, because I think he's the only one that possibly could. But it's mediocre draft capital, mediocre prospect, mediocre offense. I see people draft these guys ahead of ADP in like best ball leagues, and I kind of laugh because I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Like they're like, yes, I got Marlon Mack, and I'm like, what are you doing, bro?
people were drafting Damian Pierce in the 1st round of rookie drafts this year. Like, what is going on here, folks? What do you do? Why would it? And I mean, why would you ever draft a 4th round rookie running back over a 1st round rookie wide receiver? Like, it just made no fucking sense.
Yeah,
people were like, Jahan Dotson, give me Damian Pierce.
And that's why you should listen to BRoto. All right, let's go into wide receivers, though, because Brandon Cooks, look, always the forgotten man in fantasy football. I feel like this guy, man. This year, though, is tough. He's entering a strange place right now in drafts where I feel like he's so underrated that he's become overrated. So, like, everyone's favorite thing is to say, like, oh, Brandon Cooks. Everyone's sleeping on Brandon Cooks because on the Texans, the heat starts building up around Brandon Cooks that raises his ADP. And now I feel like I don't want him in the 7th round. I don't want him as my RB, as my wide receiver 2. I don't want him. I want him as my wide receiver 3 at most, or my first wide receiver off the bench. Like, I don't want him as wide receiver 2. And if you want him, you're going to have to draft him at wide receiver 2. So I'm going to probably be steering clear of Brandon Jacobs. How are you feeling about Brandon Jacobs?
Brandon Cooks, bro.
Brandon
Jeez
Cooks?
Louise.
I'm definitely steering clear of Brandon Jacobs. I feel like
That's
Brandon
probably a good
Jacobs
idea.
is way over the hill at this point. I feel like, he's really been
What a
a lot of
stud.
tread on his legs. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel pretty good about Brandon Cooks. I mean, his ADP is essentially, like you said, he's so under the radar that everybody knows he's under the radar. So his ADP is kind of evened out. Wide receiver 26. He finished wide receiver 22 in points per game last season with 14.5. He did outperform his true target value, which I know Mike likes to see, a B+ fantasy grade. he had a really good year with some not so great quarterbacks. But again, that ADP is kind of evened out now, where he's not really the value that you're getting anymore. You're essentially drafting him right in his median range of outcomes at a wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 2, and a lot of those like big point per games, or a lot of his point per game total is buoyed by his spike weeks that we know Brandon Cooks is famous for. And he's still very, very efficient for his age and what he's gone throughout the league. But he's certainly not as an exciting pick to me as he was last year.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I don't know if you want to talk about Nico Collins, but hold on.
I mean,
wide receivers. Nico Collins. I don't know if you want to talk about Nico Collins, but I feel like if Nico Collins was the number 2 wide receiver and Deshaun Watson was still the quarterback, then we're talking about Nico Collins having a year where
a
you
nice
can
second
draft
year.
him.
Yeah.
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 Because he did flash last year.
He did. And his reception perception profile, we're all big fans of Matt Harmon's work. His reception profile, it's nice. It's actually well above average. I think Harmon's quote was a poor man's T. Higgins. Essentially, he had very similar successes on the routes that Higgins found success with in his rookie season. But again, I think if the quarterback situation, if we knew that they were going to score more points or at least be one of the top half scoring offenses in the league, then we could feel pretty good about their number 2 option. But knowing that they're not going to be, the number 2 option is, I mean, basically, like if you think Brandon Cooks is wide receiver 26 consensus, then cut that in half by Nico Collins, and that's probably the type of production you're going to see.
Speaking of production, who knows if you're going to get production out of the tight end? If I went to like 100 people on the street and I asked them who's the starting tight end for the Texans, how many people do you think would know the answer is Brevin Jordan?
6.
I was gonna say 1 or 2.
How many of you guys knew the answer was Brevin Jordan before you started studying for the Texans heat wave?
They can't answer.
Oh, well, I mean, I obviously did.
Yeah,
I played Dynasty, and even in the last episode, I told
all
everybody
right.
to stash every tight end under 25.
Yeah, I can't catch these guys when it comes to this kind of stuff. But Brevin Jordan is a starter, 6'3", 245, 5th-round pick out of Miami in 2001. Last year, 20 of 28 receptions to targets, 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. There's no reason to really talk much about
Why
Brevin
did
Jordan.
you just say he was drafted in 2001? Where did he possibly? How did you get 2001?
It was his rookie year.
2021, my bad.
21.
I mean, I was like, how do you just get 2001 pulling that out of the blue?
He was probably born in 2001.
Probably.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
Or maybe later.
He showed some red zone prowess last year.
There's I don't think that. Yes, there. Mike said it. There is some red zone interest, but again, it's going to be a really low scoring offense.
Yeah, this is yeah. So let's get into this bold prediction, fellas. Matt, you're up. What's your bold prediction?
Well, you know what? We got pretty important off the list, so I'm going to give you something for my bold prediction, and I think that John Mechie, when he does come back, so in the space that John Mechie does play, so whether it's for the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I'm thinking of like Elijah Moore, Amon-Ra, St. Brown type ceiling. Like he will lead the team in fantasy points when he is healthy. And I know Cass isn't here, but he wanted me to bring up Mechie's comps before we got off air. His comps are incredible. Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, and then rounding out with a pretty low confidence comp and Titus Young. So Mechie is a reception technician, man. And
what the hell are you? What?
He was touted to go ahead of Jameson Williams before, obviously, Mechie broke his ankle and Williams had that final year breakout at Alabama. But like Mechie was a very, very high rated prospect coming in. So bold prediction time is he outperforms Brandon Cooks when they share the field together.
Whoa.
Yeah. I like John Mechie as well. Jason drafted John Mechie in the Pros versus Joe's Dynasty League in the FFPC with a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
Those are some freaking. Those are
some
comps. Those
fire
comps, bro.
Yeah.
Whoa! All right. So my bold prediction is that the Texans will not have a 100-yard rusher this season. Period. Like no one will rush for 100 yards any game. Michael,
That's
what
good.
is your prediction?
I feel like Brandon Cooks might do it. I'd put better odds on Brandon Cooks than any other guys.
On an
I
end
like
around?
around. Yeah. I'm gonna say they're all completely useless, basically. Like Davis Mills outside top 24 quarterbacks, all the running backs outside top 36, all the wide receivers except Brandon Cooks are useless, and Cooks is outside the top 30 in points per game as well.
I feel like we didn't mention Mitchie because he's going to be out for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad
I mean, he will be on
that Matt,
for the
you brought it
first.
up.
Oh yeah. I mean, of
But
course.
you're
you
not
gotta get the
drafting
rookie
him.
Plugs in.
Yeah, you're not drafting him, but
Don't think that's a great idea.
yeah, don't draft him. And we're a redraft show primarily, so we're not going to tell you to draft him. But
Waiver wires, baby.
Yeah, keep an
Yeah.
eye out for him mid-season for sure.
Tim,
Yeah,
what are you doing with
exactly.
these video
I'm-
transitions, brother?
I'm trying to find where it says our names. Like, why won't it say our names, man? Anyway,
Oh man.
I'm back. Matt, where can they find you?
They can find me at PsychordFF on all social media platforms, wherever you like to get your fantasy football knowledge. I'll be churning it out.
Michael?
Turning it out. You got the Canadian
I know.
accent
I
out of that
really
one.
flew that.
Every
Canadian
time he
accent.
says out or about, he's like, about. And you can really tell he's Canadian.
At
I feel
Broto
like
FF,
I feel like
Mike.
our Queens comes out more than his Canadian comes out though. So I can't really make fun of him too much. At Broto FF Tim, at Broto FF Casanova, and at Broto FF Jason for those who cannot join us today. And at Broto Fantasy and Fantasy Football at FF by Broto. So many ats. I'll see you at this time tomorrow. Peace.
Later.